G'day worm wranglers and welcome to Marty's Garden, a live show on Saturday. Yep, I'm pretty sure the microphone's working, well it tells me it is. Apparently it's recording well and we are here on a Saturday morning, 9:30am. I'm only 2 minutes late, Sydney, Australia time. Welcome to the show, guys. We're going to give everyone an applause for turning up. It's going to work. Yes, the artificial crowd in the background is happy. I'm happy and look, this is going to be a really cool show, and I don't know why I've never done this one before, but I think it's a progression of, like life's a journey, and I find worm farming and micro farming and this whole evolvement, this whole new movement that I believe is coming through. We haven't yet hit the trends, but it's coming, my friends. It is coming, because there's only one solution really in organics as a good all-rounder. For people in small little apartments, they can have small little worm farms, big farms, schools, you know what I'm saying, because you watched the last video yesterday, I would say. And I've got my list here in front of me. Well, I'll just pull that out in front so I don't make any mistakes, because what I want to do is really sort of share this today about being enthusiastic for worm farming. And if you're an enthusiast or the reason why you worm farming, look, I've got a whole lot of stuff down beside me here for worm farmers, enthusiasts, all different tools and tips and worm castings and all stuff. We've got all this I wouldn't call it mad science stuff, but you're going to be stoked when I pull it out, and then we're going to start sharing the story. And like I said, I just can't believe I haven't done this before, but as I was making the video up, I was like, oh, I can add this to it. Oh, I can add that to it. That would be really cool. I would like to see that. So hopefully you're going to enjoy it as much as I have been getting the process together to put it all together. Now, before we get into welcoming everyone for turning up, I just want to thank all the worm wranglers and subscribers for becoming a worm wrangler and becoming a member. We're currently at 42 members, and I'd like to reach 100. Then maybe I might consider doing a Discord group or something like that. It just depends, on how things flow. But yeah, I just want to thank you for doing that. And if you're considering becoming a worm wrangler and having access to the courses like Starting a Worm Farmer Beginner's Guide, the quick tutorials, and Starting Organic Seedlings, a Beginner's Guide, and the intermediate videos, and then all the live shows that go afterwards, and a few other sort of like videos that I've thrown in there over time. There's just so much value in there. It used to be for the two courses over $60. On the website. So I was able to bring that across into a better player, a more efficient player, and put it all onto the homepage so you can access it on the homepage. And because it cost me really nothing, YouTube just take their little cut off the top, I was able to bring the prices right down. And you guys have been really supportive, so thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. If you're considering becoming a worm wrangler, look, it's cheaper than a pizza. You can go in and just do the whole lot once, or you can become a monthly member. And so thank you everyone for doing that, and just for being here and coming and watch the show. I really appreciate you. And my heart goes out, Worm Wrangler Warrior style, to you all. Now, let's say hello to everyone, because I'm sure we've got a few new people rocking in. So if you're a newbie here coming first to the show, we do a Q&A towards the end, and you just put a letter Q next to your question, and then I'll fire away. And if you're chatting amongst each other as you do, I will then know that you're chatting, and occasionally I'll see cool chats and I'll bring them across. So yeah, and if you want to do a super chat, you'll find it at the bottom of the chat box, and any small donations, really appreciate it. It really does help, and it goes a long way, further than you think, guys. So we've got YAS. G'day, mate. You've abbreviated it down from, it's something to do with airport service. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, really, really cool to see your airport service. That's what it is. Great to see you here, mate. Robbie Marino, good morning, mate. Looking forward to the live show. Me too. This is exciting. I just need to not get too hyped up. Take a cool few breaths. You can see down in the bottom corner here some things stacked up, if I can get my hand right, because I see everything in reverse here. And look, it's just awesome. And looking forward to the talk. Yeah, me too, man. And there's some people chatting, so what we're going to do is just scroll down and yeah, just stoked to be here. So he's got his iced tea and sipping. Some people reminded me about the recording, putting the microphone on. Thank you for that, guys. I've got a bit of a checklist that I'm going through now, so hopefully that won't happen anymore. And Billy May, good morning, Marty and Worm Gang. Welcome, Worm Wranglers. Welcome, Billy May. Barry Watler, g'day, Marty. Cheers from Queensland. Cheers, mate. I bet it's a chilly weather getting up there today. It's a bit chilly here. I've got my winter jacket on again. Wayne's Worm Farm. Good evening, Marty and other Worm Wranglers. So, let me know where you're from. Let everyone else know in the chat box where you're from and what time it is. Because everyone loves it that it's international, this show. And people are really making some cool connections in here as well, which is really great. They say hello to each other when they turn up each weekend, and it's really nice. Deborah Jane Dixon, g'day, Marty. G'day, mate. Nice to see you here, Deborah. And Paul Velasco. Hopefully I've got your pronunciation right there, Paul. G'day all. So when we have g'day in front of it, it's good day, which comes from the English term good day. And we changed it to g'day here in Australia. And we like to say g'day, mate, as most of you know. Slavika Dimsevinsky, welcome. Where are you from, Slavika? Please let us know, please. And there's a few people here that I recognise from time to time. And a few new crew rolling in. Jess Bridges, over Worm Factory 360, living in my room. I adore it. They are my new pets. I think that a lot of people are going to be saying that. We're going to be talking about the enthusiastic side of it, of why you worm farm and what type of enthusiast you are, and also all the goodies that you need to become an enthusiast, which I've got stacked down here at the side. I've got to remember to do the left hand because I'm looking everything backwards to front here. Cheers, Wormies, Green Man's Garden. And so if you're here for the first time, remember we've got a Q&A more towards the end, and you just put your little Q next to the question, and feel free to chat to each other amongst here. This is a great people turn up, and we've got a really nice big growing community. So how many worms? Well, in the Q&A, just ask that more towards the end, Paul. But generally 1,000 to start up for a small worm farm is what we need. Robbie Marina, a discard group would be awesome, Marty. Yeah, well, we need to get really to around about, I've got a really big group in Facebook, right, called Small Space Veggie Gardening Australia. It's run by 2 moderators. And I really don't have time to go in there much because I'm a full-time single dad. I'm making videos here, and I run my worm farms, and I sell my compost and things like that. So I've got a little part-time job, which I'm probably going to leave soon to carry on here with the Marty's Garden Show once I can replace that income. So if we get to around about 100 members, then I think that there would be a certain amount of members that would go over into the Discord group, and then we could actually maybe run something there. We'll see how things go. Just remember, Marty's Garden, this channel is also a small business at the same time, pushing a message. And if I don't make a living and it's not done efficiently, it won't be here. That's just the honest truth. The show won't exist. All right, so we have. It's about cringiness. What's up, brother? Welcome. You're always here. Thank you so much for showing up, my friend. And great to have you here. And Preston Fisher, we have our first super chat for the morning. Thank you so much, Preston. Truly appreciate it. Look, it really does help, believe it or not. I know it seems like a small amount, but these little small amounts that add up through the channel actually add up to being something that really helps at the end of the month. So what we do is we have the artificial crowd, which is like all the kids in the background, and they cheer us on. They're cheering you on, Paul. They're cheering everyone on. Thank you so much. As I said, I truly do appreciate it. And if you've got any questions, feel free. Now, if you're doing a super chat and you come in early and you got a question, I will answer that for you earlier before we get to the Q&A down the line, just to say thank you and be more appreciative for it, other than just giving you the fake the fake applause from my kids somewhere around the house. All right, let's go. Hello from Rhode Island in the US. Hello, Deborah. Nice to see you here. I'm in old South Wales, Marty. Cringiness is given the triple thumbs up. Pennsylvania, USA, 7:38 p.m. Well, welcome from, wow, Pennsylvania. That's a long way away from where I am in Australia. Costa Rica. Wow, the Mark QV. That's so cool. Where else we got? Slavica Dominski. I'm from Mornington Peninsula. And yeah, so that's just down in Victoria, Melbourne. So yeah, welcome. Not too far, but Australia's a big place, right? So in a way it is. I wouldn't drive down there to visit at the moment. But Texas, USA, Preston Fisher, thanks so much for dropping in and all the way from Texas. I'd love to go surfing over in Texas, do some of that. They surf behind the big barges there, the big ferries and boats and things like that. I'd love to do that, man. That would be so cool. Barry Watler, a bit cool, 14 degrees Celsius, but still wandering around in shorts and singlet. Well, mate, you're just a bit too tough for me. Okay, so I've got some friends that do that, and I just like, ooh, makes me feel cold. I feel the cold really easy. Your airport shuttle, wonderful. Here we go. Your airport shuttle. I love that logo, your picture there that you've got for your profile. That is so cool. And the new YAS, I reckon that looks really good. Super chat. Let's continue, Worm Wranglers. Thank you so much. I have to give you the applause. It has to fire off. It's just part of the process. The artificial crowd. We love them. Thank you so much, artificial crowd. Thank you so much, YAS. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, nearly fired away then twice. It really does help, guys, believe it or not. These little bits just really add up and keeps the channel rolling, and yeah, just love it. Jess Bridges. I just love geeking out and checking my moisture content, my pH nutrition, my dry food, how I mix my wet food. I just love creating this little microbiome in my home. Yeah, me too, man. And this is what I'm saying, like this journey of worm farming, and it's like this evolving story as we do it, and we're breeding, and it's, I don't like to call it husbandry because that's sort of more really to do with cows and stuff like that. But vermiculture, it's something that really grows on you over time. And I'm going to share sort of my story as well, and then start bringing your stories out and why you're doing it, and then talk about what we need and use and things like that, and get really deep dive and educational on it too. So I'm really looking forward to that part. And thanks, Jess, for sharing that. So cool. Because in my YouTube analytics, it's always guys in there, and I'm like, hey, this ain't right. It's not always guys. There's lots of women doing this too. Wayne's Worm Farm, 12:42 a.m. here. Oh, have a sip. That is early, but thanks so much for staying up. I really do appreciate it, and it's unreal because you're here every week. So thank you so much. Green Man's Garden, Hampshire, UK, 0042. Wow, she's yeah. Thanks for staying up. Like I said, anyone that's staying up late and coming to watch the show, big hats off for you guys. Prasad Mahik. Hi, Marty. I like your videos and trying my best to do worm farming from Melbourne. Your usage of egg cartons is doing wonders. Yeah, it's really great. And I've got some down here that I'll probably show in a little while. And if you haven't seen those videos, go and check them out with the egg cartons in the hungry bin and some of the hacks and things like that. You'll find them on the channel, and yeah, it does work really good. And everyone else that's doing it is getting great results and letting me know. So, excuse me, part of going live show, drinking water and getting the burpees. Hi, Marty. I like your videos, and we already did that one. Sorry, guys. Barry Watler. Thoughts to all who are in lockdown at the moment. Take care. Yes, thoughts definitely to you all. It's definitely hard at the moment. We just have to wear masks everywhere we go, where I am. And agronomy. So, okay, agronomy. And look, I've just had someone turn up, and he doesn't come very often, but I know he watches behind the scenes. And this guy's a micro farmer, Pepe Fassos. Quick g'day, mate. Much love from the Northern Rivers. Love your work. The Ute rocks. Yeah, so I've got the Silver Fox. Stick it all up now with Marty's Garden signs over it. Looks really cool. And if you're ever up in the Northern Rivers, check out 560 Farms. He does the most amazing microgreens that I know of. They are just insane. So thanks so much for dropping in, Pepe. I'm still hoping to get up there one day and actually shake your hand, but not right at the moment, right? Because we're all sort of semi-lockdown where I am. Image is a close-up of fungi. I thought that was the case, but I just wasn't sure. So I really dig that. I think it's really awesome. And yeah, just feel free to chat amongst each other here. People are doing that, and it's really cool. And we're about to move into the content very soon because everyone's been welcome and said g'day, and I'll know where I'm up to. And some people don't mind staying up for the Worm Wrangler show. So, the Worm Wrangler show, that's what I should really call this live show on Saturday, shouldn't I? That just rolled out naturally there. Right, so worm farming for enthusiasts, right? So we've talked about becoming a worm wrangler and all the benefits. And now what we want to do is talk about, well, who is an enthusiast, right? Who is an enthusiast? Well, an enthusiast really is someone that just farms worms, does it for a while, and it just grows on them and grows on them and grows on them, and they just become, I wouldn't say the word addicted, because it's not like a bad thing that we have to do all the time to keep up our, you know what I mean, what addictions do sort of thing. It's more something that's cross between a hobby that can actually then eventually become a profession, and it just has so many benefits from, you know, for the kids, for the family, for the earth, for the plants, stop things going out into landfill. And it's just amazing. And, you know, if you watch a lot of my videos, you'll know that I talk about a lot of those benefits. So, it's just amazing. And so why am I an enthusiast now? Well, I would say I'm an enthusiast now because I used to be, well, I still am a micro farmer. I'm about, Pepper, you'll be stoked, I'm about to grow some more microgreens. I think I've got a little shop lined up down the road. So I just can't help myself. I've got all the compost here, I've got all the seed, and about to test some more radish at the moment. And yes, stoked to do that. So all the compost that I'm growing, then the worm tea feeds my microgreens, and then I'm only like a couple of minutes down the road from a really cool cafe. And so I think and he's been hassling me for ages every time I go get coffee going. He's like, Marty, when are you going to be doing some microgreens? Marty, when are you going to be? I'm going, I'm not, I'm too busy. And so I've ordered some seed, it's on the way, and I'm going to be taking down some taste test trials soon. So, you know, there's one more benefit of doing that is you can actually make these little side incomes at the same time, and it's not too hard. And maybe I will do a little course in the members area about this little side income. Maybe we'll see how people go and if they want that content, and then I'll put it into the Worm Wranglers members area. Right, so after that, you know, like micro farming, I discovered, well, years ago, I first time I used, we're talking, I'm 53 now, 28 I was or something, the first time I ever used worm castings. I was blown away how good it was. So I've always had my eyes open since then, but I knew that the best way to go for organic gardening was to do that for me because it was just so cheap and economical. And so I started composting and then growing the microgreens and baby leaf things and selling it to the restaurants, and they were like really stoked at the quality of the produce and how long the shelf life was, how good the flavor was. I was like just going, this is just getting better and better because I wasn't getting pest attack, and it was just really doing quite well. It was really paying off. So I'm just really stoked. And, you know, it sort of evolved into something else. Obviously, if you've been following the show a long time, you know that I got really ill and I had to move south from where I was living up in Byron Bay, and I'm here now just south of Port Macquarie on the mid-north coast. And, you know, I just started worm farming again and then started doing it and then going, hey, I think people are going to start buying this compost. And all of a sudden, I'm selling compost and I've got this great little clientele that come. Some people purchase some worms and some castings and different things as well. So it's really, really cool. And like I was saying, all these little things, like just a super chat adds up because I'll sell a few bags of compost. I'll get a little bit of AdSense from YouTube and different things. And it's amazing what it can be at the end of the month. Well, it's keeping me alive and it's keeping me and my daughter, you know, fairly comfortable. And so, it's good. So there, and then now that I'm doing it more, and then I'm filming more because I'm sort of pretty much nearly full-time, well, other than my little part-time job. So I'm filming more, I'm getting more involved in the feeding and the different concepts. And I thought, to be honest, at the beginning, I thought this would probably bore me a bit doing this, because I'm a farmer. That's what I do. I farm worms to make castings, to grow plants, and then to sell plants. But the more I'm getting into it, the more I'm realizing I'm becoming an enthusiast and really like falling into that category more so than just a farmer, right? So what I'd like to know is, what type of enthusiast are you? Like, the reasons why you worm farm. You can just put that in beside the side there. Put a W for worm wrangler instead of a Q. Put a W and we'll pull it across. And think about it, like, do you do it for a hobby? Are you just a full-on recycler? Are you like an eco-worm warrior? Are you like, you do it for enjoyment, to show the kids? You're doing it to make the castings, to grow the plants? There's so many reasons. Or maybe you do for nearly all of them, like I am now, becoming an enthusiast, enthusiastic. So let's discuss that. Let's bring that into the conversation. And while we're doing that, I'm going to start bringing out some of the things that I've got stacked down here beside me that enthusiasts may want to put into their systems and to use as worm farmers. And as I said, I'm growing this little stack here because I'm becoming more enthusiastic. And what I'll do, we've got more chats, so I will get up to where we were and keep firing away. Robbie Marino. Thanks, Barry. Hope you're well. Lockdown number 5 here in Gippsland. Whoa, Pepe Fasos. Thank you, brother. Welcome. Arizona, 4:45 p.m. And you have to go. We'll check back in later. Have fun, guys. Cheers, Jess, and thanks for coming. Worms versus the world. I started to make some money selling, but now I just enjoy watching them. So that's good. You'll find that if you build a bit of a process and systemize it a little bit, you start making more money. So that's what I've done. I've just worked on systemizing the system more often, better quality castings going out, and compost and worms. And now I sell, like, instead of like sifting all the worms out, some people, they just want worms, but then they want the compost as well. So I just sell a whole bag, like a 30-litre bag, and I just shovel it in. I don't even count the worms. They get thousands at times, anywhere minimum of 1,000 and maybe even hundreds of cocoons or 1,000 cocoons in the lot. And then they just go and build a worm farm with it. Cost them $20. It's a bargain. Or they can pour it straight into their underground worm farm. It's really, really cool. And it takes me literally 10 minutes to do, other than, like the process. But just bagging it and getting ready to sell. If I'm going to sell the whole compost bag and I take all the worms out, that takes much longer. And they sell for $12. So a really good value, and I'm not going through any other companies or anything, so I can keep my price low. So I'd still like to know why you guys are enthusiasts, and the reason why you're doing that. And there's my father there. He's listening in. Welcome, Dad, to the show. Great to see you here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some of the things. Now, obviously, we need to start off with food, right? Like, I've got my little thing here. It's a bit of carbon, avocados. These, I like to fill these up with different foods and then place them around the farm and then check them out. I'm going to be doing that in some of the videos. So brown paper bags, stuff that we wrap our food in when we buy. And then there's a whole lot of cabbage and things in here, tea bag, stuff like that. And I'll show you a little hack. This is a really cool hack that I just come up with recently. I thought this is a really good idea for the toilet rolls. Just put a little bit of water in there and just sit it up there for the day. I sit in the window and it just soaks up all the water, and then I just throw it in with the food and it's already soaked down, ready for the worms to go. You could use a big jar or a little bucket or anything to do bigger volumes of it. Also, I've got another thing here of all different types of foods in there. It's been sitting in there for about a day and a half, 2 days, and it's ready to go out to the worm. After 2 days, it's got the bacteria on it and ready to go straight to the worm farms, and they'll start digesting it almost straight away because, as I said, the bacteria is in there. Now, another little bag. This is for making worm teas. This is a little Hessian jute bag, and you put your worm castings in there. If you've got a little bubbler like I have, maybe with a little solar panel, and you just go like that, drop it in the bucket. It don't even have to have a bubbler if you don't want. Just stir it up. Make sure it stays nice and oxygenated and aerobic. And now we have, I'm going to pull this over. This is really heavy. Yeah. Worm castings. Yep, worm castings, my friends. There's around about 7-8 litres there. Really heavy. Like, it holds, I wouldn't believe the weight in that thing. Just the bomb. Love my worm castings, as you know. And look, eggshell for grit. Coffee grounds for grit, right? So the eggshell works as a pH buffer at the same time. This will not work as a pH buffer, but because it's gone through and it's been already processed and the acidity's moved out of it, still holds all the minerals. And yeah, it's great worm food and they love it. Use a lot of it. You can warm your worm farm up in winter and heat up to make hot compost. Does a really good system like that, but just be careful because it does get hot really quick. Very, very high in nitrogen. You can also just sprinkle it straight on your grass like that. Works really good. So I'm going to put these over here. And next one, gloves. Gloves, yep, gloves. I just bought these gloves. These are brand new. I don't like to show brands. But anyway, we just saw that. And look at these. These are very pretty, aren't they? You know, my pretty little gloves. You use plastic ones or rubber ones or whatever. I just use these more around the garden occasionally. I use, but you watch most of the videos, I just don't have them. I'm diving deep with bare hands, and I'm always got nails, dirty nails. So what you do is you get soap, and you scrape the soap bar, get it under your nails, and then you don't get the dirt into your nails. So there's another super duper hack for you. Okay, another thing that I've got here. This is a spice grinder. Now, I'm going to do an opening in the shot, one of the videos, one of the vlogs coming up, when I start grinding some food for some of the worm farms, for the enthusiast worm farms. And before we keep showing some more of this stuff here, I'm going to go through and answer some more questions because I think some people are going to start commenting about what they like about worm farming and why they do it. This is a live show, right? We want to keep you guys involved and keep it cranking. I think Billy May, I think what makes me an enthusiast is I can't use worms for fishing anymore. Well, why is that, Billy? Why can't you use them for fishing anymore? But what's the process that you enjoy the most when you do it? Deborah Jane Dixon. My neighbour gave me some castings to use and I realised I have to have my own. I've always composted. I think I need another worm bin and another compost bin. Yeah, so the high-end enthusiast has got a bit more space than most. You can have like a compost tumbler or a little compost bin, a small worm farm, like a tiered one, and then possibly like a flow-through worm farm. So they're sort of like the three things that you need because you're composting extra compost in your composter and then you're putting that compost into your worm farms as bedding and, you know, with some other mixes and things, and then you're feeding the foods. And, you know, you can have two different systems. So you've got your tiered one that you can play with and look in really easy, and you can get your worm tea out of really easy. And you get your flow-through farms, which is a different system again. So, you know, you can play with it. And your compost system, you can have worms in it as well, like I do. YAS. Interested in creating a healthy habitat and keeping worms comfortable and daily worm chores, and analysing daily to refine and see the good progress of happy worms. Yeah, that seems to be the process of, as the more you do it, the more you just get curious of what's going on. They create a lot of curiosity, don't they? And like I said, these things, they're so undervalued and so under-recognised at the moment, and they can create so many opportunities around the globe for small businesses and also for councils and for, like, you know, big stadiums and things like that. There really is a big future for it to go. There is no doubt. So we'll keep moving forward here. Billy May. Deborah, go do it as soon as possible. The sooner you get them going, the sooner you can be checking on the progress. I wear the gloves and a must. I got into it because the price of compost in local garden centres to start off with. But in the 8 months I've been composting with worms, I've really got more enthusiastic about it. That's what I mean. It sort of grows on you. The curiosity grows on you. And then when you see the benefits, of how good these things produce plants and gardens and just what you're doing. And it really makes you feel good about the part that you're probably taking on. I have hardly any rubbish go out of my home and it's really cool. And I eat a lot. I'm not a vegetarian, but I eat a lot of veggies. So, it's really awesome. And J.E. Soliano, welcome to the show. Really lovely to see you here. Worms versus the world. Probably should wear gloves, but it's kind of nice to just touch everything with bare hands. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a bit tricky doing sort of both, right? Sometimes I pull them off and go, I need to feel what's going on in there. And look, we've got a special guest here today, and I would like to bring her forward. Masilla from Learn to Grow, and she loves farming worms too. And here she is here. Learn to Grow, super chat, $20. Hey Marty, I wish I could stay, but I'm running errands. Thank you for all the valuable information you share. Much love from Washington State, USA. Well, thank you so much, Masilla. That is, hopefully you're still here before you had to go off, because I know you're a busy lady, just bought out a book, running the YouTube show, and if you want to learn more about gardening and organic gardening, Masilla really knows a lot about it. She's a world-class gardener as far as I'm concerned, and we will give you the applause from the artificial crowd in the background. The kids salute you, Masilla. Thank you so much, and we all appreciate you. And as I said, look, don't hesitate, guys, after later on, go and check out her channel and support Masilla. She is awesome. She provides so much value to the world, and I'm just stoked we are friends. I really am. We've known each other for years now online. Wayne's Worm Farm. I really enjoy it as a community wrangling too, like you, Marty, and others like AV and the Crazy Worm Lady. The Crazy Worm Lady, she wasn't very, look, I don't want to get into the personal side of things, but she had to give up her channel, and I think she just really couldn't keep going for certain reasons. But it's a bit sad to see her go, and hopefully AV will come into the chat one day soon, and maybe even on the show. We do comment and watch each other's videos, and I watch all the worm farmers videos that I can and support all the small channels as best I can too, because I just feel it's really important for us to do that. Worms versus world. Is there a way to test worm tea to make sure we do it right? So we're going to put a Q next to anything where there's a question, and it'll sort of be more to the end. We're not too far away from that. But anyway, I'll answer it. I don't know. All I do is I just sort of, I don't think you can really sort of get it too acidic, because worm tea is pretty much pH neutral. And I'm more into using it weaker and more often than too strong and less regular. I think you get it, but that's in pot plants and things like that. But I'd like to keep that conversation going, so have a think about that question a bit more, and then let's keep following through with that. I want to know why people are worm farming at the moment. Robbie Marino, put the W next to it. Thank you very much. Helps me read what's going on and know what to pull across. I'm very enthusiastic about reusing and recycling. Each week I only dispose of 3/4 a shopping bag into a landfill. I've been gardening since I was 14, and I'm always looking to improve soil health. Well, thank you so much, Robbie, for sharing that, and I believe that many people here have the exactly same response as what you do. And have been gardening a very, very long time and see the benefits of worm castings. And it's just nothing short of amazing. And I'm hoping to, in the near future, as soon as I start growing some more food and stuff, I'm going to be showing using a tray of the worm castings that I grow a certain way, and then grow the plants and see, take it that next step and go, yep, these worm castings were made this way. How do they perform with these plants? Just to be a bit more nerdy. We know that they do really good, but I think, it's just absolutely awesome. Billy May, I don't like to use them for fishing because I just want them in my worm farm, and I feel like they are far too important to us to hurt with a hook through them. I'd just rather not use worms anymore. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel too, mate. I just can't use them for fishing either. I'll go down the road and I'll buy a bag of prawns though and hook that through quite easily. But I feel much the same. David Darylimp. Hopefully I got that right, David. But thank you. I've been doing this for 2.5 MOS as months, maybe, and I'm really intrigued and I've learned a lot. Yeah, awesome, mate. Well, it doesn't take that long to get going. You're just watching and observing every day, and if you get a chance, become a worm wrangler and check out the rest of the content in there, and maybe that'll help you as well. There's lots of really cool stuff to devour, and yeah, it's only like it's less than a pizza to go in and grab those courses, which you can find in a button next to the subscriber button or links down below any of my videos. And yeah, it's a really cool place to be. And if we get to 100 members, I might look at doing a Discord or something like that. Barry Watler. I lost my job prior to COVID and started volunteering at a community centre, which has now evolved into rebuilding a garden and a course of worm farms. Yeah, and I really enjoyed hearing that story about what's going on there, Barry. It's really, really cool. I think community gardens are going to be a voice for worm farming, and a lot more people get to see it and then possibly take that home and do that as well. So it's a great way to expand it out there to the world. It's been a really sustainable way of gardening for me too, and the quality of castings gets my plants better than ever that I've seen. Yeah, look, there's no doubt about that. So I've got some more stuff here that I want to show you a little bit more for the worm enthusiasts. I'll pull it out in a second after I say g'day to Chris. And there's Marcilla. I think she's probably headed out. She's got quite a lot to do, and yeah, it's been so nice. And look, yeah, truly grateful for our friendship as well, Marcilla. It's been really nice, and I know it's going to go on for much longer yet. And I actually bought her book, which is like, I think it's unreal that YouTubers like herself are bringing out these type of books, and they can actually really like enjoy life and bring a lot of value to people, other than, you know, like what the publishers say you got to bring out and do. They get to self-publish, and I'm hoping to do that one day myself as well. Worms versus the world. It makes sense. Okay, so before we move into any of the Q&A, I've got on my list here the extra tools. I've sort of been showing those, but we'll get some out here. So I just bought this with my gloves the other day. This is big, man. Look at this thing. This is like a weapon, right? The police come around, they go, "What's that? What is that?" You wouldn't be able to take that on an airplane, would you? You know what I mean? Like, far out. All right, so, yeah, that's one of the things that I'm going to be using in upcoming videos. These are really great. Just make sure when you put worm tea in, I block mine all the time by being lazy. Just keep any of that little stuff out so it doesn't block the end or blow the end out. Really great for wetting down all types of stuff. Okay, so we've got that. I've got some other things here. Egg carton cardboard. Water in the top, and lets the water go down through slowly and seep into the worm farm, and then you just, once it gets wet and everything, you rip it all up and put another layer on top. That's that hack that you see on my videos on the channel. Go check that out if you haven't already, like brown paper. I don't like how they put this clear plastic in here. That just ruins that for me. And then we've got down here, so I dig deep. I've been ripping it up, getting ready to make some worm bedding for another worm farm. There's all egg cartons sat in front of the TV. I don't know how long that took me to do it, but I wasn't doing anything else. And this is where things are getting exciting for worm enthusiasts. I want to know what type of worm farms you're using. Are you a tray worm farmer? Are you using trays to farm worms like this? Now, I've done this before when I was doing a lot of breeding in my garage, and that was really, really fun. I just found that I was making too much of a mess in my garage, and I needed to bring it outside. Just running out of time taking care of everything, and like, I picked this up for $3.50 from the local hardware shop, and I'm going to show you one of these being built with a special worm bedding that I've made up, coming up in a video next week. So that's really exciting, and I'm setting up like this new studio area for enthusiasts to go inside this, and we put the bedding in there, and we place the food around in certain spots and go and hunt them down and see what they're doing. So I'm looking forward to doing that. If you want to see more like videos like that with enthusiast style stuff, let me know in the comments box, and we'll keep rolling with it. I've got something else for the enthusiast. Oh, I've just knocked over the little jar with the cardboard in it. Luckily, there wasn't too much water in it. And this actually come out of an old fridge, right? And everyone knows what these are. They sit down the bottom, the crispers. And I reckon these would make a really good clear worm farm for enthusiastic videos. Now what I could do is just put like layers of compost and maybe some layers of sand, and then we could look at where the worms are moving around, and it's really clear. Like, look how clear it is. I was thinking glass, but then I didn't want to go out and buy a fish tank, and thought maybe this will work. And we can put the food in certain spots, and I can film it, like stick a banana down the side or something, and then film it, and then like see how that's going. So I reckon that could work really well. Let me know what you think about that if you'd watch that type of video. I don't want to go out and make stuff and no one's going to watch it. But that's where I'm moving enthusiastically into worm farming, and then using those castings and going, right, worm farm A is going to grow basil plants this year. Worm farm B is going to be for the microgreens, and just do things like that. So let me know, if you dig that, more enthusiastic stuff while you're worm farming, and we can fire away with the Q&A. We've been going for 41 minutes, 27 people watching, 25 thumbs up. If you haven't thumbs up already, please do. Lets YouTube know that this show is cranking and that more people will come and watch, and we can build this community and share the world of worm farming with others that yet don't know about it and would like to possibly find a way to dispel their waste. Turning waste into something valuable is what I like to say. Cheers. I'm going to have a little sip with my cup that I got from YouTube for being in Earth Day. Come with no packaging. Love that cup. Love the story behind it. And fire away with the Q&A, guys. Just whack a Q in front of the question and I will see it, so I don't know that you're chatting there. And I'll just scroll back up a bit and go for there. First really awesome question. All the questions are good. Feel free to ask anything. Like, don't feel like anything is stupid. It is not stupid. It's something that we all start from beginners right through the professional turn up here, and everyone helps in the community as well with these questions. So it's really cool. Would you recommend using the worm tea just on potted plants, or can you use it all over the garden? Right, I'm going to put it down into 3 parts. You can actually spray it over leaves, right? So you can spray it all over leaves and under the leaves. Morning and afternoon is the best time to do that. And that will help the biology grow on the leaves of the plants. You can also pour it into your pot plants. I recommend that you do it more regularly in a weaker solution, and even have it in the bottom of the trays and let it dry out a bit and then fill it up again. Don't let it become anaerobic if you can. And then also water it straight into your plants in the ground, because it's going to build the microbiology. Just make sure your plants are mulched really well, so when that microbiology is getting down below, it's got somewhere to live for a while, because it will carry on, right? And the people that grow giant pumpkins and giant this and giant that, they're all using worm teas to do this. So I'm going to be I grow my microgreens in a type of worm tea, and you can check that out in some of my older videos. I'm going to be doing that again here on this channel if people are into it. As I said, I've ordered a whole lot of microgreen seed. Billy, mate. Oh, sorry, mate. I love fishing too. I'm on the Murray, so we fish for Murray cod. They love cheese, so I don't even have to use a prawn. I reckon prawns would be cheaper than cheese. I don't know. It's pretty expensive, the cheese here these days. They love it though, and why not? Trex with a shotgun question. Have you done any experimenting with mixing mushroom growing and vermiculture? I have used spent sawdust grow blocks in my worm bins, and they seem to like it. Look, one of the things that I always teach here on my channel is that makes one of the better beddings. It just gets a bit heavy. but I'm actually ordering some mushrooms soon, a kit. And I've got this other guy named Paul who's contacted me and shown me some photos of him actually with an active mushroom farm with mushrooms, and he's got worms in it, and you can see the worms. So I'm going to be doing that. It's just a matter of just getting the kit and then just looking at it, and just I really don't know where to start other than just buying the kit first and then just maybe getting them going and throwing some worms in there and start observing and seeing what's going on. So yeah, I'm all for it. I reckon it's a really cool thing to do. And also I believe it's futuristic for people that are going to be farming mushrooms. I'd like to be farming mushrooms here and growing microgreens and, become more mini self-sufficient in a way. I save a lot of money by growing my own food in such a small space. That's one reason why I can actually run this show and have this channel going, because I can be sort of frugal in a way, because, I'm just able to grow a lot of food. Owain's Worm Farm. What is that god of the sea with the trident called? Don't know. If my dad's still here, he'll know that one. He'll know that answer. Is it Zeus, I think? Zeus? Is it Zeus of the sea? I can't remember. Chris Ruwell. I have a number of trays and they're doing great. That is really cool. So they're tray worm farms. So some people are using the tiered ones. Some people are using flow-through farms. Some people have got all different ones. So let us know what you're using, or if you're using a mixture of them all, people would know. Time-lapse. Look, I'm not real good at time-lapses, but the problem is the batteries run out real quick. But if I can set it up, I do have one camera that I can maybe have a go and then do sections of a time-lapse with that one. I just don't want to steal AV's thunder, because that's what he does. And, it's just, I need to come up with a different concept, different to him. And then, because I just don't want to take away. He's doing some great stuff, and that's just how I feel at the moment. But maybe, maybe I'll do it and I'll speak with AV. Maybe you go, that's cool, Marty. I reckon do one, So we'll see. Or maybe I'll partially mix it up with some different angles, different storyline, something like that. I know there's other people, there's worm versus banana and things, so I'm probably being a bit silly thinking like that. Because, there's 1,000,001 videos on growing tomatoes, right? And you can't go... So anyway, you know what I'm saying. Neptune, I think. Yeah, that's it. King Neptune. Billy May, you keep making any video and we will watch it. I will anyway. Thanks, Billy. Yeah, I know everyone doesn't watch everyone, but a lot of people watch most of them. We're doing around about 500 plus per video at the moment on average. So that's pretty good. A lot of them been 600, 700. And then the last month, there's a few 1200s. Then we've got some good ones, they're in 260,000, things like that. This thing. Neptune. I need that could be the ultimate thumbnail, right? Something like that. I was going to say Worm Wrangler Neptune or something. That'll make a really good thumbnail. Thanks for that. I really like that idea. Got me thinking now. Trent B. Hey Marty, I've been looking into growing microgreens to sell to local restaurants and cafes, but I see there seems to be a lot of regulations with food safety. Can you explain this a bit? You need to sell them in pots, right? So if you're worried about food safety, you need to sell them in pots as a plant, and then you're sweet. That's basically how it works, mate. Hopefully that helps, Trent. Don't know where you are. All the regulations are different. You need to look into it a bit further. But if you're selling them as cut leaf, there's all these other hassles and stuff. And I just try to just avoid all that, all the regulations and things, and just provide a good quality product. So it's really between you and how big you want to go. If you're just doing it very small, then I wouldn't really worry about it too much, as long as you're keeping it clean and you're getting it to the customer, no problem. Like a lot of my customers, they just said, Marty, there's too much regulation, we just want it. And we know that it's clean and it's safe and everything. And a lot of them wash them as well. They've got these spinners and different things. So, yeah, I found that they weren't even bothered when I asked them about it. So it really comes to you. But if you're worried, sell them as a pot plant. And then you're sweet, as far as I know. All right, rimlit10@gmail. Let me have a little drink here for a second. and we'll check how many people are on the channel. Just trying to keep it a nice calm flow going here. 30 people watching, 31 thumbs up. We've gone over the limit. That's what we want to do, is keep that thumbs up limit around about or over of what people are watching, and that really helps this show grow. Thank you very much for coming, anyone. And if you want to see the rerun, it'll be available for a couple of days up on the channel until it goes over into the Worm Wranglers members area after about 48 hours. So yeah, I'll go back and you can rewind it. Let's go to this question. I'm wondering if the worm castings can be tailored to specific NPK requirements also. So yes, they can. And there are people doing that. It is quite difficult, but just remember, it's not only about the NPK, which is like we're thinking in like the lines of sort of like synthesized chemical fertilizers, NPK. So what we're really looking at is not, things like the growth hormones and the biology that's in the plants. And when we're feeding the soil, the NPK actually changes, right? It rebalances itself, it shifts. So NPK is more important in pot plants and things like that. But when we're actually feeding the soil and not the plants, this all changes. Everything is eating and feeding and consuming each other, and it's all being fed through photosynthesis, to keep it quite simple. So don't be too overly concerned about NPK unless you're going like in a hydroponic line way, where you might be doing like working on a vermiponics. Then you need to know a lot more about these type of nutrient uploads and things, and acidity and pHs and all that stuff. But so it can be done, but just trying to think about a different mindset with it as well. Also, is it possible to feed the worms a diet that would cause a certain fragrance, example vanilla? I don't think so, because you need to really feed them a variety of foods, not like just feeding it to like a pig a lot of apples and you get apple flavored meat. I don't think that's, because remember, it's a casting, it's a poop, right? So it's not going to come out apple flavored poop if we feed them apples. But good one. It's a good answer. It's a good question. Great info, by the way. You're very welcome, mate. And that was a really good question. And I'm sure a lot of people would have benefited, especially off that first part of the question. Robbie Marino. And he's talking with Trex there. Deborah Huntington. Question. I've been experimenting with worm chow. Do you have any recommendations for worm chow ingredients? You can just try all different grains and things like that, mixing a bit of grit with it, with a grit of your choice. I'm going to be doing some different ones coming up in the future with the grinder when I open that up. And I'm going to share more my different experiments of worm chows and things then. But yeah, just, like you can start off with things like really cheap, like birdseed would be a really good one. High proteins, and just mix them up and play, and I'm going to come up with some different recipes and stuff. So I don't want to give away too much about that, but I think what I've given you is enough information, Deborah, to do that. And there's some really good benefits with worm chow. And I'll show you something. I wasn't going to show it for this show, but we've got this video coming up. And these ones here, that's a tray worm farm in there. And I'm just going to put it back over here in the studio area. And that's going to have lots of different feedings and worm chows and things. I'm going to have different ones and like that. And we're going to have different worm chows, different foods and things going through it. And it's going to be more for like the enthusiast one of different foods and feedings and stuff. So if you're digging that, let me know in the comments box down below, or fire away straight on the thumbs up. If we hit 40 real quickly, I know that people will be really stoked to see that, because some people are just watching on the TV, right? And great question, and stoked that I can possibly help with that. And I would say a lot of people are interested in that. Yes, very cool. I believe so too. Right, I'm about halfway through this water here. Generally, I drink about this whole cup for a whole show. And we've been going well over an hour and a half now, because everyone's so involved and there's so much going on in here. And I think it's one of the best places to be in the week if you're a worm farmer, because there's just so much you can learn and consume and get to meet people that think and feel like you do, right? So we're joining, connecting, and I'm drinking some good water out of my beautiful cup that I just adore. And question from Deborah Jane Dixon. Is your starting a worm farm course the best place to go to see different types of worm farms? It's really, I just teach in sort of like the tiered systems, the three ones, because that's where most people start off. So we don't really have like all the different worm farms in there, but right through the channel it does. Like you look at the Hungry Bin and then different ones. And I wanted to actually make a video coming up in the future about the different worm farms. I'm not sure if it'll go into the members area or it will actually go onto the channel here. Look, if the members area keeps growing and people are happy with this, what the concept is at the moment, I'm just putting the live shows across because there's so much value in these live shows, and I've got to have a way to keep feeding that audience as well as worm wranglers. So it's a good question, but for now I would say no, it doesn't have all the different types, just the major ones that people are using that you buy in the shop that you see everywhere. Alison Kelly, I've just started worm farming and have noticed some white mold in my bin. Not heaps, just on some of the uneaten scraps. Should I be worried? No, pull that white moldy bit out and you're probably overfeeding, or they don't like that type of food and they're going for something else, because generally they're eating that bacteria before it goes moldy. So you really don't want to have molds in your farm if you can avoid it. I would just pull it out or dig it down deep and push it down into the subsoil a bit. Just slow down on the feeding. Remember, different times of year, they're eating more, warmer times and things like that. They'll slow up and speed up and slow down. So just keep an eye on them. But I wouldn't be too overly concerned, but I would say it's just an overfeeding. Van Nguyen, human and pet fur in worm farm. Yes or no? I found, look, I've got this thing, I really just don't like hair. I really don't. I don't like dealing with it. I remember the first time I ever saw it, someone had this clipping of their hair. And, you know, like, this is just my thing, right? Some people like hate spiders and I just don't like hair. So I'm just going to put a no in there for that. But it does take quite a long time to break down. I tried some wool once. That didn't work for me either. It's just the lanolins seem to take a long time. But if you've got an outdoor worm farm, you can dig it in down. Just do that. Just dig it in down deep. And don't worry about it too much. Trent B, question. Awesome. That seems to be the work around that I found in New South Wales. Are you able to share some places where you buy your seed? I buy my seed from like big companies, right? I don't buy in small amounts. And I don't actually have the seed, the company here. Send me a question in the rerun. Go in and put a question down there, and then I'll find the name and I'll answer it in there for you. Instead, otherwise I've got to run away and find it and stuff. And we don't want to do that for the show, Trent. But yeah, I'll definitely get an answer for you if you're in Australia. Chris Ruwalt, Deborah, apart from kitchen scraps, I use some chicken feed that has about 16% protein, and the worms love it. Yeah, the chicken feed is like something that a lot of professional worm farmers use as worm chow. And you could get the small bags of pellets and munch it all up. I think that's a really good way to go. And that is that is an awesome tip. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that. That is gold, guys. So take that down if you're going to be an enthusiast. Just if you store it somewhere, keep it away from rats and things like, because other stuff like to eat it as well. But yeah, I've been thinking about that for my large windrows, eventually feeding it that. But I've just collected a whole lot of chicken manure again and a whole lot of wood bark and leaf mold and stuff, and I'm feeding me into my windrow again. So, and they love that stuff. But yeah, the protein from the chicken stuff. I know that professional worm farmers use it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris. And thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate it, guys. Like I said, any small amount, it just, like I said, it adds up, man. It's just amazing, and it helps me stay alive over these little bits and pieces. So thank you so much. The artificial crowd applauses you, my friend Chris, and we really appreciate your input here on the show as well, and, you know, all the comments that you leave on the channel. Thank you so much, and it's been an awesome day so far, guys. We have really covered quite a lot, and we got 28 people watching, 38 thumbs up, and yeah, it's just really, really cool. And see, everyone's stoked. There's a few people going, thanks Chris, thanks Chris, thanks Chris, and yeah, that is a ripper. ripper of it. Thank you so much, because I'd forgotten all about that one. Marty, my cuttlefish, green lip mussel shell. This is from Robbie Marino. Eggshells and dehydrated banana peel grit is going awesome. I'm really happy with the results from my experiment so far. Yeah, so that is really cool, Robbie. I remember you telling me about this before, and I think, yeah, the cuttlefish from the beach, and you can pick up little mussel shells from the beach and stuff like that too, and grind them up with a dehydrated banana. That, the peel. Well, that's such a good, look, if you live on the coast, I recommend trying that one. I think that would work really great. Well, it does. Robbie's saying that it does. And so there's one recipe for you. If you want to share your recipes, I'm all happy to hear them. And I know people would love to hear them as well. So please feel free to do that. People get a lot of value out of you guys sharing in here in the community and becoming a voice for worm farming. And remember, we can become worm wrangler warriors when we start getting rid of this material, stopping it from going into landfills and sharing the word about the benefits of worm farming. Barry Watler. I'm just going to have another drink. Excuse me for a second, we are live. It's cold here today. Little sniffle, snuffle. Drink of water. I need to fire up again, because we've been going for an hour now already, and wow. When you're talking for an hour, man, it's harder than you think. Very thirsty work. It's too early for beer, and I'm not a coffee drinker. I do have my tea already in the morning. Barry Watler. Question. I have access to coffee beans that no cost. Can you grind these and use them in a place of coffee grinds? They're a bit acidic, mate. You're better off using, because they go through the whole boiling system. If you were to grind them up and add some type of calcium to them, maybe some eggshell, and then test it with a pH, I would do that. I think that's the way to go. Find some way to just bring the pH down a little bit. Check the acidity first and just play with it, man. Play with it. I think that's a good way to go if you got the time. Got some really cool stuff. What is chicken feed? So chicken feeds comes in pellets or bags. You can buy it from like the local cooperatives. It's a food that they feed chickens. And look, it's usually only comes in quite large amounts. So it's really for really serious worm farmers, right? Other than that, just make your own worm chows. And this is what Savika has just asked. What is a worm chow? It's basically a powdered up worm food of different grains and grits and things like that, and making your own concoctions, powdering it right down into a dry food, and then putting it over the top of your worm bins and then feeding it that way. And I've been making some worm chow recipes and different things in these farms that I just shown you, the flat trays. And so we're going to have some cool recipes coming out. So that's a worm chow, Savika, and it's a high protein food generally. High protein food to give to your worms, very much so. Brandon Little. Hey, Marty and worm wranglers. Been feeding my worms malted barley to my worms, and they've been enjoying it with all the enzymes, bacteria, and even some fungi. I think that's a good way to go. Have you found it smelly at all, the malted barley? I know that the hops from the beer places can get a bit pongy, but it's a bit different. Brandon Hittle. My population's worms almost looks like science fiction of how many there are using the malted barley. Yeah, really cool. That's pretty awesome. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. Like, I don't know much about malted barley, so if you could share that with the community, maybe they don't know about it as well. I'd say more than likely, and so we would like to know. Please share how you're doing it and what actually malted barley really is. I know it's a grain, and how the process. Are you grinding it down? How you're feeding it? Are you spraying a little bit of sugars? Something like that. I think malted barley already has quite high sugar content in it, from memory. Been finding a load of baby worms in my wormeries recently. Well, unreal. That is so great. Certain times of year, I find that my best time of year is autumn here, when there's not fluctuating temperatures so much. It's just a nice even temperature. They just go mental. I'm going to get really prepared for next autumn, but we're talking about 8 months away. But even then, I'm just going to be working more on controlled temperatures outside by using hot composting systems and using different nitrogens feeding differences, moving the farms around in and out of the sun, which is all really what we really do, and then sort of moving it through. And I've got a whole lot of videos coming out next week. Unfortunately, I was asked to fill in because of this whole COVID thing again. One of the staff is in lockdown far from me, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the daily videos. It's a really real hassle, but we've got a few cranked up, and then there'll be a few more coming out. So if I can't get the 5 out a week, which I'm trying to do at the moment, it'll be around 3 or 4. Unfortunately, yet being called back into work again. Worms versus the world. Now remember, let us know how you're worm farming, why you're enthusiastic, and even some of your recipes that you're using to feed the worms. Doesn't have to be a worm chow. Maybe your favourite food that you feed your worms, and what you find you have the most success with, and how often you're feeding them too. That would be a really good thing that people would like to hear from. Your story about worm farming. Worms versus the world. Thank you for all the good information. I have to go now, but looking forward to future live shows. Well, thank you so much for coming. Do appreciate it. And also, if you get time, watch the videos through the week and go through and watch the rest of, there's so much content on here on the channel. And I'm trying to grow one of the biggest resources, the libraries on the internet. And I feel that I'm getting that process across, and me with a few other worm farms that are doing this. We're really getting a lot of education out there. So there's lots for you to devour, and maybe consider becoming a worm wrangler and doing those extra courses in there as well. Because remember, you've got the Starting Organic Seedlings, a beginner's guide too, which is really cool. And it shows you how to use that end result casting and generate and sprout a seedling. So even if you're not using the castings, it's a way to learn how to grow seedlings as well, because it teaches everything about growing a healthy seedling. And when you start off with the right seedling, your plant is so much stronger. It's so important to start off with a good, healthy seedling. We all know that we go and buy these crappy seedlings, but they look great when we get them from the shop. And they're full of basically, artificial fertilizers, and they're getting too much nitrogen and stuff. They look great, and then we get them home, and then they just start looking worse and worse and worse. And then all of a sudden they've got pests on them and chewed off. And it brings you from this high up to this, this is unreal. So where when you're worm farming and you're growing plants, you get this little boost of, that looks so cool. And then, it's getting better. It's getting better. You just go, and then you're eating it. Just going, that tastes just brilliant. So I think, the results speak for themselves. So if you're into growing seedlings, you really need to check that out. Right, so let's keep moving through here. And thanks everyone for coming so far and watching the show. You've been hanging here for a bit over an hour, and it's really unreal to see you all here. Thanks, Marty. See you at the next video. Great show today. Thanks, Deborah, for coming to watch the show. It's just unreal having you here. And we'll keep rolling. If you've got any Q&A, guys, just fire away with Q&A, any questions that you have. Happy to answer them, and and get the education out there for you all. I know everyone else that's watching really likes these questions in the Q&A, because what happens is these questions pop up. You go, I would have never thought of asking that. That's a really good question, and I'm going to do that now. I just learnt something. And so it's like this evolving forum that just pops up the way that I run this show. And I think that's where a lot of the value lies as well. Thanks. Really enjoyed this morning. You're welcome. We're still going for a little bit longer yet, so hang in there. If you've got any more questions, I'll play the song at the end, the theme song at the end, and then we all say goodbye to each other and start moving through. So we've got a question from Trent B. What are some methods to promote breeding with my wormy friends? So the different worm chows is the way to go. And if you can get hold of chicken food, that is the ultimate easiest one to do. Other than that, just start mixing proteins and different things, and just a higher protein diet mixed with some other foods really helps, and a good grit in their stomach, such as like the eggshell or coffee grounds. Good grit for when they're processing the food, they produce a high-end casting. So yeah, and also, a good bedding, nice and moist, and the temperature is really important. So you want to keep it nice and warm, but they're not overly hot, not overly cold. Temperatures that we like to be in, and then they will lay a lot more cocoons. You can keep like a nice bedding on top, like a nice worm blanket. They'll come up underneath that blanket and drop the cocoons there as well. So I think I've given you some pretty good, pretty good answer there, Trent B. And I know a lot of other people are interested. And I do have some breeding videos on there, but I'm going to do some more on those, some updated ones in the near future. Chris Ruwalt, question: does anyone use crushed rock in their farms? I don't, but I did see one video where the worm farmer made a big deal of it. Okay, let's make a big deal of crushed rock. Let's do this. It is basically, it's another mineral source. They can get into the worm gut, right? If it breaks down, it gets into the microbiology of the system. So the things in the composting system use that to actually feed and breed as well. And so it is, if you're going to go be really serious, rock dust is something that is quite important. And I do, when I make like my worm teas, at times, if I've got rock dust around, I will put a bit of rock dust, because they have anywhere from 40 to 400 minerals, 200 different minerals in it. And then that goes into the system and feeds it all, and then you end up with this super biology, right? So it is a big deal. It's not super important. The minerals will come up and turn up. You're just activating it and giving it a bit more. And so you see, I've got a basalt rock larvae in the bottom of my worm farm, and it's collecting all the castings on this out. It's very high in iron and different types of mineral content. And yeah, it's basically a rock mineral, a rock dust. Caden Fine, do worm castings help get rid of clay soil? You need to really compost and add compost and like lime, not lime or gypsum, not so much gypsum. Yeah, lime, gypsum or dolomite to break up the clay soil. And then you add the castings later on to fertilise the system and to bring in the biology in. So you need to break it up with some compost, and then the worms will come in and move all through it and break it all up as well, Caden. So hopefully that helps. Trent B, was it lava rock, Chris? I know it has a lot of minerals and whatnot. Yes, pretty much it's a lava rock. Rock minerals come from out of volcanoes, and basalt is the main material that we have here, and that's what creates the red colour in the soil, is the breakdown of the iron. Marty, I go mushroom picking from saffron milk caps, from April to July each year. Last time I went, I grabbed a heap of old SMCs for my worm farm, and they love them. Definitely a favourite food source. SMCs are saffron milk caps. Okay, I've got to be a little bit careful promoting that type of stuff, because someone goes out and picks some type of thing that's poisonous and I don't know what they're getting. You obviously know what you're getting, so that's really cool. If you know what you're picking, yeah, give it a go. Why not? If you can grow some mushrooms, farm some mushrooms, start feeding them the substrate from that, I think that's another good one. That's definitely something I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months, and I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to taking that experiment on. Owain's worm farm. I use crushed limestone, which is a form of calcium. Yep, it is a form of calcium. And probably good stuff. Never used it, but I reckon it'd be good. Robbie Marino. I haven't looked so much in the science of it yet. However, I'm hoping it adds to a great source of mycelium to the farm. Be interesting. I think we need to know more about. I haven't done much mushroom farming other than some little kits, and yeah, I'm really interested in it too. The way I have mushrooms pop up the side of my compost ones, the edible ones, and I haven't ate them because I'm just scared. I'm pretty sure it's the right ones, but I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. And they're huge. They're like, the big cap ones. Barry Watler. I've been trying to find some literature regarding worms in general. Is there any books you would suggest? Seems a lot of irrelevant information. The info you provide is so helpful. I can't really recommend any books, Barry. I'm not really a reader. I'm dyslexic, so I can read, and I do read, but it's not my form of educating myself. I found when I got out of school and I was able to, once this sort of like this online world become available to me, I just started learning and just soaking it up. And then everything for me was like talking to people and, and learning. Even though, I went and studied agricultural business and things like that, I was really into it. And I was standing in front of a teacher in front of us, and I was able to ask questions and things. And so I really excelled in agricultural business. But as far as worm farming books, I can't really sort of give any off right at the moment. Sorry, mate. Someone else might have one though that they could recommend. And welcome to pop it in here in the chat box. Robbie Marino. I haven't looked too much in the science of it. Yeah, okay, I guess that we've got that across. Slavika Dimvensky. Super sticker, a $2 from Slavika. Pair character doing a shaka sign in front of his hand saying cool. I don't get them pop up on here because I'm looking through a software, but thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Every little bit helps, it really does, and it's been unreal. Like everyone that's provided a super chat or a super sticker today, thank you so much. It just really does make a big difference. Charles Darwin did a 12-year study on worms, not necessarily an answer to any question, but an interesting fact. He did, and he had some great comments. I wish I could remember what they were off the top of my head before there was some of the last work that he did. Owain's Worm Farm, 12 years. Robbie Marino, great point, Marty. Definitely be careful when picking wild mushrooms. I've been picking them since a child, my grandfather and my grandfather, so I know what is edible and what isn't. Yeah, it's a real skill in itself for sure. But I think, yeah, looking at the kids, man, the kids look like they're really great fun. If you're into worm farming, I think mushroom kits, really cool, and be great to hear what everyone else is doing with their kits, and then whether you're recycling into the mushrooms or you're adding them together and they're growing, and I'm really looking forward to doing mine. And apparently, like, that type of mushroom just is so tasty, and I eat a lot of mushrooms now. David Morgan, can you put in too much grit into your system? No, not really, but if you're overdoing it, it can be too grindy. You wouldn't just have like heaps of grit, like really only a couple of percent is enough, 5% max. You just mix it in with your food a little bit. I just get a bit of eggshell. So check out the video a couple of ones back where I'm showing you how to turn this into this, and it shows you a quick way to just make an eggshell grit. It really works. And just remember, if you're feeding things like I've had, this is not arguments, but I've had people come back to me and I've sold the rock dust in the future because I used to have heaps of it, right? I used to buy big bags of it from the co-ops and things, and when I was micro farming, I used to use a lot of it. And people would expect the worms to eat it like worm food. That just doesn't happen. It can sit there for quite a long time, and that's okay. They're mostly using it for grit, but if you're using it in your compost systems and into your plants when you're planting, it goes much further. Hey Marty, been enjoying the extra content. Well, thank you so much, W31D3R. It's been fun getting it out. So I've got to go back to, I'm filling in for work. I've got about 4 videos lined up, and we'll see how we go into next week. I may fall behind a little bit. Look, I think I did tell you, but the lady who I swapped shifts with, she had 3 months off, so I really fell behind. I was filling in double shifts, and I felt like I was catching up again, and all of a sudden this, the COVID thing. So we'll see. But like I said, I'm probably not going to stay in that position much longer. I'm thinking of heading off in spring if some things go well here on the micro farm and the channel, growing some extra microgreens and some few extra incomes coming in to replace that income. Learn by doing instead. Thumbs up. Yeah. I think places like this, I think you're going to learn nearly as much as what you're going to get out of a book, unless you're really into books. And you can get a lot of value from some of them, and you really educate yourself that way. And some people, if you're just enthusiasts, you want to have that book on your shelf, you know what I mean? Like, I bought that gardening book from Masilla from Learn to Grow because I'm a gardening enthusiast, and I just want to have her book. I want to own that book. And so I just wish I was able to get her to sign it for me, but maybe I can post it over to her and get her to sign it and send it back. That would be really awesome. I'm a bit of a fan of Masilla, as you can tell. Brandon Hiddle, The Worm Farmer's Handbook by Rhonda Sherman is a great book, and Vermiculture Technology is another, but that one is a little pricey. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Brandon. I really appreciate it, because there are people out there that like to educate themselves through books, or like I said, just have that as a part of their library. Barry Huntington, I've got I've gotten a lot out of Rhonda Sherman's The Worm Farmer's Handbook. Awesome. That's really cool. Clay, you're never too late, mate. You can always go back and watch the reruns. It's here for a couple of days before it goes over into the Worm Wranglers members area, level 3 area after 48 hours. And there's been some great stuff go through here. So I highly recommend if you come in late, go and check out the rerun later. We've been running for, 1 hour, 19 minutes and 34 people watching, 41 thumbs up. So thank you everyone for coming to watch the show. It's been absolutely amazing, and I just need to have a drink of water. You can hear my voice is getting a bit raspy. I've shown all those different things going through, all the different tools and stuff that we needed for enthusiast worm farming, some different foods and stuff like that, so you can go back and watch them and check that out if you've missed some of that in the show. Head back and look it out. Check it out. Robbie. The kits are awesome too. I have some oyster and shiitake mushrooms growing at the moment. Yeah, I'm looking at just doing the oyster for the 10 degrees to 20 degrees. I'm told that you need to have a bit of humidity. So I'm wondering where I'm going to place the little farm, the kit. So, and then in summer I can grow like a pink, I think it's a pink oyster, and that's 20 degrees and up. So I'm looking forward to trialing both of those. And Barry Watler, thanks, I'll check them out. Yeah, Barry's he's really into what he's doing, and he's going to be highly educated soon on worm farming because he's just so into it. And I know a lot of you are as well. And, you know, like, thank goodness we have places like YouTube and this place where we can actually come together and talk and chat about worm farming and the benefits of it, and why today we're talking about enthusiasts, you know, worm farming for enthusiasts and enthusiasm. And obviously all you guys from beginner to intermediate to expert on here are very enthusiastic on what you've been doing. And it's just been such a really, really amazing show so far. Now, my voice is starting to get a bit croaky. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish up now, guys. But before we do, what I do is we get everyone to say goodbye to each other and, you know, have a little chat and anything that you want to say to each other before you go, please do so. We put on the theme song at the end, and then I drag across all the chats of you guys saying goodbye, talking to your friends. As a community, this is a place where we come together every 9:30 a.m. Australia time, Sydney, Australia time. It is an amazing place to come. I'm so stoked. Thanks everyone for your support. Thanks Worm Wranglers for being a member. Thank you for your super chats. It has just been such a good show, and I look forward to bringing these out every weekend. We have to give them applause. They said yes, they agree. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the song on. And this is a really cool song. Michael, whatever, To the River is the name of the song. And it's a really heartfelt song.
There's a gentle breeze, all the birds are making homes inside the evergreens. The air is clear, with our loved ones close. You can pick out every star without a telescope. So beautiful to see how we have changed. In time, you know, everything we've lost comes home again, and I will grab onto your arms a little stronger than we were before. I've missed your face. Has it been that long? Looking forward to a fire and a sing-along. Let's stay the same as the children grow, and teach them all the simple things we thought we used to know. So beautiful to see how we have changed. In time, you know, everything.
Good point. Like button next to that, yeah. Good point. Yes. Sure. We're Wranglers.
I'm proud, you know, that we always held out hope. So if you grab onto my arms, let's take a walk until the sun gets warm.
Thank you everyone for coming. I truly appreciate you, I really do. It's been an amazing show. I look forward to seeing you through the week in the different videos that are coming out. I've got about 4 or 5 ready to roll. And yeah, the live show next weekend. Have a great day wherever you are, or sleep tight if you're watching at night. And I'll see you at the next video / live show real soon. Bye for now. DIY worm farm, cheapest one I've ever done. Check it out on the show. Bye.